Hey guys, welcome back. Trying something a little different today. The story is more of a documentary. It's just on information. I've been trying to find a story on staircases in the woods. I can't find any of that story, so I'm just going to read the information I've found. But still quite intriguing, and take from there, see what you guys think about it and if you prefer this type of story. Just a quick point before we begin. I'm really trying to put some time into this and build this channel up. Although not getting really assigned content at the moment, I believe the more people I can appeal to, the more subscriber base, hopefully the better content I can get to share with you guys. So please like, subscribe, comment and share the videos. It will help and the efforts will pay back in time, I promise you. So on with the content. There are abandoned staircases all over the national forests, and no one knows why. In national parks around the world, so the story goes, there are abandoned staircases deep in the woods, where no man appears to have ever lived. You'll find them, just staircases, no other structure. Some of the staircases are brick, some in ruins, some perfectly sturdy, some cast iron, spiral-like, the kind you'll find in a lighthouse, reaching up to nowhere. At least that's what one group of Reddit users would have us believe. The thread about creepy happenings in national parks led to an unusual bit of folklore emerging. User after user said they'd heard of the staircases, who had seen them too, sometimes as far as 60 kilometers deep in the forest. At first, stories came from all over America, New England, West Virginia, New Hampshire, Montana, Detroit. Then sighting of staircases came from desperate places as Portugal, Germany, Norway, and the Philippines. Sometimes a well-kept graveyard would be found nearby too. The first person to tell the story of the staircases was Search and Rescue Woods, an American Reddit user who claims to be a member of a volunteer search and rescue SAR unit. I don't know if it is true in every SAR unit, but in mine it's sort of an unspoken, regular thing we run into. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking about 30 or 40 miles, at some point we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like if you took the stairs out of your house, cut them out and put them into the forest. They write. I asked about it the first time I saw some, and the other officer told me not to worry about it, that it was normal. Everybody I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go and check them out, but I was told very empathetically that I should never go near any of them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. They went on to explain one SAR officer had seen staircases that were flipped upside down. I guess it would be like if you had a dollhouse and the stairs were a separate piece. Now take that out and flip it upside down. So this top steps is stuck in the dirt and put it out the woods. Others quickly chimed in with similar experiences. How about that? I didn't realise the stairs were that common, Reddit user Jeep Dave wrote. They explained, I came across a set in rural West Virginia. I don't think I was quite 40 miles deep, but at least 10 or better. I thought maybe a house had once stood there, but there was no ceiling. No ceiling, cellar, or other debris that would indicate a home was there before. Just a set of stairs with a base that went up maybe one flight, 16 or so steps, if I remember rightly, and sturdy. Could barely shake them. I didn't climb up though, worried it might break or fall over, and I was alone. One other user, Taylor Nashazam, saw some in Michigan. They wrote, an hour east of Ironwoods. There is a clearing in the forest that has stairs. I was hiking and exploring with my cousins, and we stumbled on a clearing about half a football field long. I had a few staircases, but not against trees, just standing up in the open. They looked like stairs from a normal suburban home, kind of old though. The older cousin decided to investigate. He walked to the stairs to see how they're being held up. He couldn't find anything, which weirded him out. He made us all leave. Grass didn't grow near the stairs either. One set of stairs was even found in the middle of a lake. With one comment claiming, I distinctively remember finding a set of stairs coming out of a lake with my family. My father, sister and I had been on a trip in the boat. We were riding fairly close to the shore, rounded a corner and came upon a set of stairs sticking 3 to 4 foot out of the water, nothing else around it at all. While most stories come from the United States, others around the world claim to have encountered the weird stairs too. German Redditor TK622 is one of the few people to have snapped an image of the stairs that they stumbled on. I'll put this in the story now. They wrote, I saw some stairs in the woods a few years ago. I didn't know what to think of them, and I took a picture. They were covered in moss, but had a railing on one side. While stairs in the photo aren't God knows to those imagined in other people's tales, they are still very out of place. Just metal stairs in the middle of the woods surrounded by trees leading nowhere. One user, Dosaki, claims to have seen the stairs in Portugal, writing about the stairs. I've seen a few stairs leading up to nowhere in Portuguese forests and fields. They don't look creepy. Perhaps the only unsettling thing about them is that there are no visible signs of that area ever having a building. Norwegian Redditor, Holy Shitspace, says they have came across the staircases too, and it scared them silly. I made an account just to post this comment a few months back while visiting Gramps in Lillesand, northern Norway. We went hiking, nothing big, just a walk and a picnic in some woods. With us were my niece and nephew, who were both quite young, so I joined them in a hide and seek while the proper grown-ups had coffee and whatnot, they wrote. Me and my nephew were first to hide, but we split up, and I ran alone, quiet, away into the thickest of the woods, and I found a staircase, nothing remarkable, riddled with moss and made from what looked like really old concrete, with large pebbles and rocks in it. It didn't really seem out of place at the time, but thinking back, anyway, I decided it was fit for hiding in. But after only a few seconds of squatting behind it, I got up and stepped back. I couldn't shake the feeling that I really shouldn't be anywhere near it. I suddenly had a feeling of being severely unwelcome, and that should get as far away as possible. So I too, my family, and didn't look back. Thinking about it now, it still gives me some sort of, I don't know, twisted, wrong feeling. There are several theories about what these stairs may be. Perhaps they are simply foundations of fleeting or long-lost settlements, particularly from America's 1800 gold rush. Sturdy staircases having survived 200 years of weather rot and erosion, whereas wooden structures didn't. Others have more sinister ideas. Perhaps they aren't stairs at all, but a pulpit for a preacher holding some kind of dark-sided, clandestine gathering. Perhaps a gateway to another dimension, or to hell. It's hard to know, as a few have ever dared to climb the staircases, with most who say they encountered them reporting feeling unnerved, unwelcome, or even nauseous in their presence, leading them to flee. However, one brave Reddit user based in Detroit says they have climbed one such abandoned staircase and the results were surprisingly spooky. I found a staircase while walking through foliage, so thick I didn't see it until it was almost underfoot. The stairs were made of loose cobble and moist earth, like where a work of masonry once long ago. Case 9 writes, I climbed the stairs thoughtlessly, half expecting there to be a landing greeting me at the top. There wasn't. Just another crumbly step of unimpressive view. Something caught my eye as I craned my head. The bushes were packed tight, except where the stumps of dead trees formed sunken wells around them. And from one of the crafters, someone was looking at me. I remember clearly their dark, lean face, their round eyes, black. No sooner had I seen their face, it disappeared again. Only then did I have the foresight to take off down the steps, back through the bushes and the brambles. Another user, Oik Term, had a forbidden warning for those who come across the staircase, writing, stairs in the woods are a thing where I'm from, but we know that we shouldn't go near them and avoid them when we run into one. That's what I've been told by my family. Now, there are a few issues with the stories. Compelling as they are, first of all, they were posted on Reddit, r no sleep forum, in which users tell fictional presented as fact. The suspicion of disbelief is meant to be elicit a good scare, and both the tale's readers and writers play along. But while the staircase story seems to begin as something that may be fictional, those who discussed their own experience appear to have dropped the facade of fiction and simply rely weird experiences that had finding unusual structures in the woods. However, it's telling that almost no photos exist of these staircases, just stories of people having seen them. Some of them insist tales are no more than creepypasta, a bit of a scary folklore that spreads around the internet, and that is only vaguely based on fact. Either way, the tales are compelling. There is something inherently discomforting about abandoned buildings and ghost homes. Doubly so when they're deep in the forest, miles away from civilization, they're an echo of what once was, and has passed with little trace. A faraway time where our ancestors endured hardships and can barely imagine, leaving behind scent evidence of having existed at all. Some of staircases in the woods and faded gravestones. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. It's just a big old introduction, more of a documentary side of a story. Just want to take this short break to say, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, comment and share the video. I'm just trying to grow this channel to encourage more content fed forward to me so I can narrate that. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. I am a search and rescue officer for the US Forest Service. I have some stories to tell. I wasn't sure where else to post these stories, so I figured I'd share them here. I've been a SAR officer for a few years now, and along the way I've seen some things that I think guys like you will be interested in. I have a pretty good track record of finding missing people. Most of the time they just wander off the path, slip down a small cliff, and they can't find their way back. The majority of them have heard the old stay where you are thing, and they don't wander far. But I've had 2 cases where that didn't happen. Both bother me a lot, and I use them as a motivation to search even harder on missing persons cases. The first was a little boy who was out berry picking with his parents. He and his sister were together and both of them went missing. Around the same time, their parents lost sight of them for a few seconds. And in that time, both kids apparently wandered off. When their parents couldn't find them, they called us, and we came out to search the area. We found the daughter pretty quickly, and when we asked where her brother was, she told us that he'd been taken away by the bear man. She said he gave her berries and told her to stay quiet, that he wanted to play with her brother for a while. The last she saw of her brother, he was riding on the shoulders of the bear man and seemed calm. Of course, her first thought was abduction, but we never found a trace of another human being in that area. The little girl was so insistent that he wasn't a normal man, but that he was tall and covered in hair, like a bear, and that he had a weird face. We searched that area for weeks. It was one of the longest calls I'd ever been on, but we never came across a single trace of that kid. The other was a woman who was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mother, her daughter had climbed up a tree to get a better view of the forest, and she never came back down. They waited at the base of the tree for hours, calling her name before they called for help. Again, we searched everywhere and could never find a trace of her. I had no idea where she could have possibly have gone to, because neither her mother or grandpa saw her come down. A few times, I've been out on my own searching with a canine, and they've tried to lead me straight up cliffs, not hills, not even rock faces, straight sheer cliffs with no possible handholds. It's always baffling in those cases. We usually find the person on the other side of the cliff or miles away from where the canine has led us. I'm sure there's an explanation, but it's sort of strange. One particularly sad case involved the recovery of a body. A 9-year-old girl fell down an embankment and got impaled on a dead tree at the base. It was a complete freak accident, but I'll never forget the sound her mother made when we told her what had happened. She saw the body bag being loaded into the ambulance and she uttered the most haunting, heartbroken wail I've ever heard. It was like her whole life was crashing down around her, and part of her had died with her daughter. I heard from another SAR officer that she killed herself a few weeks after this happened. She couldn't live with the loss of her daughter. I was teamed up with another SAR officer because we received reports of bears in the area. We were looking for a guy who hadn't come home from a climbing trip where he was supposed to, and we ended up having to do some serious climbing to get to where we figured he'd be. We found him trapped in a small crevasse with a broken leg. It was not pleasant. He'd been there for almost 2 days, and his leg was very obviously infected. We were able to get him into a chopper, and I heard that one of the EMTs, the guy was absolutely inconsolable. He kept talking about how he'd been doing fine, and he'd gotten to the top. A man had been there. He said the guy had no climbing equipment, and he was wearing a parka and ski pants. He walked up to the guy, and when the guy turned around, he said he had no face, just blank. He freaked out and ended up trying to get off the mountain too fast, which is why he'd fallen. He said he could hear the guy all night climbing down the mountain and letting out these horrible muffled screams. That story bothered the hell out of me. I'm glad I wasn't there to hear it. One of the scariest things I've ever had happen to me involved the search for a young woman who got separated from her hiking group. We were out until late that night because the dogs had picked up her scent. When we found her, she was curled up under a large rotted log. She was missing her shoes and pack. She was clearly in shock. She didn't have any injuries, and were able to get her to walk with us back to the base ops. Along the way, she kept looking behind us and asking why that big man with black eyes was following us. We couldn't see anyone, so we just wrote it off as some weird symptom of shock. But the closer we got to the base, the more agitated the woman got. She kept asking me to tell him to stop making faces at her. At one point she stopped and turned around and started yelling into the forest, saying that she wanted him to leave her alone. She wasn't going to go with him, she said, and she wouldn't give us to him. We finally got her to keep moving, but we started hearing these weird noises coming from all around us. It was almost like coughing, but more rhythmic and deeper. It was almost insect-like. I don't really know how else to describe it. When we were within sight of base ops, the woman turns to me, and her eyes are about as wide as I can imagine a human could open them. She touches me on the shoulder and says, "He says to tell you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at the scar on your neck." I have a very small scar at the base of my neck, but it's mostly hidden under my collar. And I have no idea how this woman saw it right after she says it. I hear that weird coughing right in my ear. As I just jumped out of my skin, I hustled her to ops, trying not to show how freaked out I was. But I have to say, I'm really happy when we left the area for that night. This is the last one I'll tell. It's probably the weirdest story I have. Now, I don't know if this is true in every SAR unit, but in mine, this sort of unspoken regular thing we run into. You can try asking about it with other SAR officers, but even If they know what they're talking about, they probably won't say anything about it. We've been told not to talk about it by our superiors. At this point, we've all gotten so used to it, and it doesn't even seem weird anymore. And just about every case where we go really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like you're looking at the staircase of your house, cut them out and put them in the forest. I asked about them the first time I saw some, and the other officers just told me don't worry about it, that it's normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go check them out, but I was told very empathetically that I should never go near them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. I have lots more stories, and I suppose if anyone's interested, I'll tell some of them tomorrow. If anyone has any theories about scares, or if you've seen them, let me know.